Hi, welcome back to Joe Blogs. In today's episode, I want to talk to you about the Nord Stream pipelines. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, the Nord Stream pipelines? Come on, Joe, that's really old news. Didn't they blow up around 2 years ago? Well, actually, it was the 27th of September 2022. So it was more than 2 years ago. So this is pretty old news. However, since those pipelines exploded under the Baltic Sea, there have been a lot of discussions about who did it, who was behind those explosions. And we had major investigations that were launched by Denmark and Sweden, which were the waters where those pipelines passed through, where the explosions took place. And after around 18 months of investigations, both Sweden and Denmark suddenly decided that they were closing their investigations, and they said that there was nothing to report. They didn't want to disclose any of their findings. Now, Germany, who was the recipient of the gas through the Nord Stream pipelines, were really upset about this, mainly because they'd identified a Ukrainian diving instructor who they said had teamed up with 5 other diving instructors to undertake this mission. And the German authorities said that Vladimir was hiding in Poland, and they issued an arrest warrant. They issued that to Poland. However, Poland said that they didn't know where he was and that it was likely that he'd crossed the border back into Ukraine. So no investigation was taken. He was never found and he's never been put on trial. And interestingly, Russia was very upset that the investigations had been closed. And Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Petrov was quoted as saying, "We absolutely agree that the terrorist attack, the sabotage of the Nord Streams, must be thoroughly investigated, despite the desperate attempts of some states involved in this story to hush it up. However, under no circumstances should this cover-up be allowed to happen." So you might be sitting there thinking, well, this is all old news, Joe. You're not telling me anything new. I thought you were going to tell me who's behind the Nord Stream bombings. Well, very interestingly, some footage from an interview that Joe Biden gave in February 2022 has now surfaced, where he talks about the Nord Stream pipelines. So let's have a look at what he said.
If Russia invades, that means tanks or troops crossing the border of Ukraine again. Then there will be no longer a Nord Stream 2. We will bring an end to it.
How will you do that exactly, since the project and control of the project is within Germany's control?
We will, I promise you, we'll be able to do it.
Now that is a really interesting statement by Joe Biden. He said, "I promise you, we will be able to do it," meaning that they could bring an end to the Nord Stream pipelines. And the look on his face at the end of that interview, where he gave a wry smile, basically wasn't giving away any of the information, but was saying, we have some way of bringing the Nord Stream pipelines to an end. That gives us a very strong indication that the USA had looked into what could be done about the Nord Stream pipelines. Now, all of this was said before Russia actually formally invaded Ukraine, around 2.5 weeks before the invasion started. But clearly the USA had been working out where Russia's main forms of revenue were coming from, and the Nord Stream pipeline was delivering about 60 billion cubic meters of gas every single year directly to Germany. And the USA had actually spoken out about these pipelines, saying that it gave Russia too much strength in terms of the reliance of Europe on all of that gas. So the USA had obviously undertaken some research about this, and the wry smile at the end of that interview, I think, gives us a very strong indication that the USA had some sort of method of stopping those pipelines. Now, whether or not it was the explosions, obviously, I'll leave that for you to make your own decision. But I'll just leave you again with the final words from Joe Biden talking about how he could end the Nord Stream pipelines.
If Russia invades, that means tanks or troops crossing the border of Ukraine again. Then there will be no longer a Nord Stream 2. We will bring an end to it.
How will you do that exactly, since the project and control of the project is within Germany's control?
We will, I promise you, we'll be able to do it.